What's up, guys? It's your boy Gerard and your girl Gabby. We are back for episode 26 of the Kicks
This is definitely
and Shit
like our
Show.
new thing right now.
I know.
By the way.
We have to continue it now because now if we stop, it's just going to be like ridiculous that we're not actually doing it.
I don't know. I think we should crowdsource. Like, do you guys enjoy this, or are we just really fucking annoying? Let's be honest. I think it's a little bit of both for me. You know, I'm here for it, but I don't know about forever is a very long period of time to keep going on the sound effects.
Well, it's actually infinite. Forever.
The limit does not exist, Gerard. Let's see how many movie puns we can throw in here.
Oh my God. Listen, this is what we do here. Movie puns, TV show puns, all kinds of puns. But, you know, we are, God, Gabby, it's almost Halloween is almost upon us. We're at the end of October. Yes, you are quite having a bit of a pumpkin luck. First off, shouts to Jordan Brand for hooking my girl up with some swag.
Love this. If I was the Six Spice Girl, I would be Pumpkin Spice. You know how your girl feels about that. I'm here for it. I'm feeling the fall vibes. It was a beautiful day. We had some exciting things going on yesterday in these streets, Gerard. How are you doing? Let's start off by asking how you're doing.
She flipped the switch on me. She asked how I'm doing first. I'm doing well. Look, we got 10 days till the election, so you know, there's that. But it's also it's end of October. Next month is my birthday. We got Thanksgiving coming up. It's again, I say this all the time, but man, this year felt like it was the longest and fastest year in history all at the same time. Like, it's just so bizarre. But listen, we're healthy, thankful for that. Got dope stuff happening with Kicks and Shit Show, as you suggested. You know what's weird too, though, Gabby? Like the sports calendar is all off. So it's like, yeah, football's happening, which okay, fine, but like now would normally be the time that, and like we're preseason's happening for NBA, and like we're getting ready to start like the season, right? So. And that's not happening. We just finished the finals 2 weeks ago. Now it's like, all right, now what am I doing?
I know, it's really weird. I feel like we're living an episode of Black Mirror, and everything that keeps coming up on my timeline is a reminder that I'm not at the Garden right now at work, and I'm not at MetLife Stadium, and that I'm not doing everything that I'd love to be doing. You know, I mean, instead, I'm just here enjoying my pumpkin spice life. In this dope hoodie. Thank you, Jordan Brand. It is very soft and cozy. I don't think I've taken it off for 24 hours now. I mean, I have showered in between, so I think that was a quick hiatus.
Folks,
but, yeah.
I cannot attest to the showering part. I can attest to the fact that she was wearing that hoodie yesterday. But, you know.
Not the whole day, just part of the day. Because we have some exciting stuff for you guys to see, and it ties to our guest today, so I don't want to give away too much. But we've got some stuff cooking. We hear you guys on the feedback, what you want to see. We've started partnering with, you know, small brands are very important to us too. We love Nike, we love Jordan Brand, we love Puma and Adidas and all the big brands too. But like, we're a small brand. We got to give love to the small brands, and we want to build each other up. And that's the kind of community that we try to create here at KNS. So we wanted to really champion some of our partners that we've worked with. And we did some really cool stuff yesterday. I don't want to give away too much.
That's it. That's all we're going to say. We don't want you guys, when it comes out, you'll be excited. I do want to quickly shout out, Gabby, before I ask you how you're doing. I really enjoyed our guest last week. Kathy Adderley was great. You guys, again, check out that episode if you haven't already. She's incredible. You know, obviously, follow her work. She writes about music, hip hop, all that. And Baby Girl, better known as Aaliyah, coming out next year, August 2021. However, the book cover was revealed this week, and you can pre-order it. So go out there and do that. Aaliyah, that story, as we talked about last week, there's so many questions that people have, and it's just so much there. So I know Kathy poured a lot into that book, so really looking forward to reading it when it comes out, and hope you guys will do that as well. Gabby, besides yesterday, because I know I was with you yesterday, how are you doing out in these streets?
Well, Gerard, I'm so glad that you asked. I'm doing well. I've been trying to actually continue to be out there in these streets. So as some of you guys might know, I'm trying to do a 50-mile run challenge in October. Your girl was a little bit slacking last week. So now I have to step up my mileage and run every single day till the end of the month. So I'm walking a little bit like a cowgirl at the moment, but we're getting there. You know, it's like, I think it's good to set small goals, especially now with everything, you know, and things might be open, things might not be open, to keep some kind of routine and normalcy. So for me, that's what's getting me through. And no, I do not run in ankle weights. I will continue to set the record straight. But yeah, it's been good. I went bowling the other
Oh
day.
my
That was a
God.
wild experience.
I haven't bowled like since a long time.
Same, but it was really fun. I felt very safe. Everything was sanitized. I had to pick out my ball in advance, which I had a little performance anxiety because I'm like, I don't know how heavy I like my balls. You know,
Gabby, this is a family oriented show.
that's what she said. But I just it's things like that you don't really think about
Yeah.
that are now part of our normal everyday life.
Yeah, no doubt. And look, this is this time of year, again, where it's hard to believe, but also not hard to believe things are going to be different, right? For us for a while. I know that, again, we have the holidays coming up. We went through the Jewish holidays. We have Thanksgiving coming up, Hanukkah, Christmas, Kwanzaa, all the December festivities. And, my fear is that we're going to get caught back into another wave of this, right? Because once it's too cold to be outdoor at restaurants, and the restaurants that don't have the outdoor heaters, right? So you're not going to sit outside and freeze in 10-degree temperatures. When everybody goes inside again and starts doing their like illegal parties and whatever, right? Do we start seeing spikes again in these numbers? Because now it's like, we're back inside. It's all good. And I get it. Like, people have COVID fatigue, but I mean, better to be like overly cautious and prepared than be lapsed and have fatigue. And then now, look, you have it and it's bad news. And, we're a while away before we have a vaccine. So people, we got to still mask up, wash your hands, and be safe out there.
I mean, I agree. I think this has been, and I've said this before, a great lesson in cleanliness for America. Wash your hands, y'all. I'm so happy to see that the New York City subways have been cleaned. I mean, I also think that we have a very unique perspective being in New York and New Jersey, right? Is that we had total lockdown. I mean, me here in Hoboken we had a curfew.
Yeah. Yep.
Nothing to do with the protests. Just we've been on total curfew. It's like they took the NBA bubble model and applied it to Hoboken. So the streets out here were real quiet after 8 p.m. for a very long time. So I think seeing how different states in the country have either closed down or not, that's why we're in this kind of weird limbo right now. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens. But as you guys know, sneaker sales are still on the rise. Resale prices are still ridiculous, and your girl is still taking tons of L's on the But I will say I'm here for all the memes because it makes me feel like I am part of the community and I am not alone taking L's.
No.
Because that seems to be the majority these days.
Yeah, and it's not only you, Gabby. Obviously, of course, everyday regular people, celebrities who are taking L's and they're posting pictures. Hey, just got my first W on stage. And it's like athletes who you think, can't you just call Nike yourself and just get, and apparently they can't. They're trying to get it like everybody else and they're taking L's or winning for the first time. First time I ever got a dub on Sneakers app. So listen, it's still a thing out there. People are still, trying to get W's where they can, mostly taking L's because that's just what we do on those apps. Yep. I do have a quick question for you before we go to our guest. And we kind of talked about this before. Do you think the Yeezy version 2s are being released in too many colorways?
Short answer, because I'm a woman of many words. Yes. Absolutely. I mean, it's funny. I know you have a pair of the Carbons, right?
Yeah.
Carbons are dope. I think they're really a nice, clean look. They have a little bit more of a nod. But for me, I mean, the only Yeezys that I have in the 350 style are some of the earlier launches. I just think there's too many colors. I don't like having what everybody else has. I mean, it's what you make of it, right? Like, obviously, multiple people have sneakers. You can buy the ones that I have. I can buy the ones that you have. That's what's great about it. But I like to make it my own. But for me, when I start seeing we're like, I think 1 or 2 colorways away from Mama and Papa Rosenthal rocking a pair of Yeezys. And I don't know. I don't love the sheer panel. It doesn't do it for me. It's cool. And some of the more neutral tones, they're nice. This is me stepping outside of my comfort zone. I mean, you guys know I wear a lot of black. I think this is the first orange thing that I've owned in a very long time. I'm here for it. I love it. But it's the first orange thing that I've owned since my jack-o'-lantern pumpkin costume.
It just seems like every week there's every weekend it's a new color. I'm like, how many colors are you going to come out with? Like 30? I think that's a lot. That's a bit much.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was kind of the point, though, when Kanye signed with Adidas, right? Is he wanted to make it more accessible for the people. And I think there's a balance there. And he's done a great job with that. But like I said, for me, it's a balance of when it becomes too oversaturated. I look at like the Michael Kors collection model. I mean, I had my Michael Kors bag, my Michael Kors watch. I still rock my watch every once in a while. It's like my version of a Folex, you know? But when everybody has something, it kind of takes away a little bit of that mystique. And I think the reason why people still like them is because for them, it's the first time. And I think that's really special. I do appreciate that when people feel like they're finally having something that's accessible like that, that's never been before. And I think less people or a different audience are trying to go for them now. But I also think they're really comfortable. So I understand why they keep churning them out. Like from a brand and marketing standpoint, I get it. Like they're doing all the right things.
Yeah.
It just, for me, it's also COVID, you know, like I'm watching my sneaker budget and trying to be really choiceful with what I get, you know, and we live in apartments here in the city. We don't have houses or giant storage units that we can have a
75 million
like
pairs
that.
of
right.
shoes.
I mean, you can see the magic behind me, but like I also sleep on top of all of these boxes. Just kidding.
Except sometimes she's not. Anyway, folks, we will be back with our special guest who we'll talk about. We did some fun stuff with this week. Stay tuned. What's up, guys? We are back. And, Gabby, we are joined by our good friend, Erin Schiffman. Erin is the founder and creator of The Ballers Journal, which is an awesome media platform that talks about all things basketball in and around New York City. She's also a creative, Schiffman Creative, shouts out to them. And she is I'm not even going to say amateur. She is a badass photographer. We'll get into that in a minute. And she is a diehard's not even the right word. Like if you go down the street and we're just walking and somebody like says like, what do you think about Kansas basketball? And they go, oh, and they just don't even like, and they kind of, she might cut a person if they do something like that. Like she loves Kansas basketball. Rock, chalk, Jayhawk, KU.
Rock, chalk, forever and ever.
How are you, Erin?
Good. You guys, thank you so much for having me. I adore you both. And it is awesome to be here talking to both of you today about, of course, Kansas, as always, because there's never a conversation that goes by without it, but also sneakers, of course. Hello.
Obviously, we are a sneaker show, so we're definitely going to get into that. For those of you that follow us on social media, and you all should, and B, if you're not already, Erin was one of our KNS Fit Check features on a Friday from her lovely shoe closet, and she's going to show us a couple from those a little bit later during America's favorite segment, Shoe and Tell. But before we get into that, Erin, because you're such a Kansas fan, I want to start there. What is your first memory of Fog Allen Fieldhouse, affectionately known to all of you as the Fog?
The Fog, yes. Beware of the fog. So I actually grew up on the East Coast. I grew up in Pennsylvania, and 2 weeks before Christmas, my 8th grade year, we moved to Kansas, and that pretty much was a shock to the system, to say the least. However, the great thing that came from me leaving the East Coast, and I grew up in a very sports-oriented family, big Philly fans. We grew up close to Philly, outside of Philly in Lancaster. So sports was always a big thing, but basketball was never a huge part of it. So when we got out to Kansas, I mean, you're kind of in the middle of nowhere. Sports are a really, really big deal. The Chiefs are a big deal. The Royals, not so much. And then you have Kansas basketball, and it must be in the water. I don't know what it is, but that 1996 team with, my favorites, Jacques Vaughn, Scott Pollard, Rafe LaFrentz, that was kind of my first introduction to like real college basketball, and there's no better place in the world than Allen Fieldhouse. So it's kind of, once you're there, it's really hard not to fall in love. It's hard not to become addicted to that atmosphere, that energy, the love, and it's just good quality basketball. So that's really where it kind of started, and it has really escalated from there.
So the Fog is one of those places that sports fans in general, but college basketball fans in particular, I mean, it's mystical, it's mysterious, right? Named after the famed legendary Kansas coach Fog Allen, right? Like, when you walk in there, does it feel different? Do you feel like the history, like kind of like, because Gabby and I talk about Madison Square Garden all the time, right? And how it's the world's most famous arena, and how when you're in the bowels of it, you can feel big things happen there. Not just for MSG basketball, you feel prize fights happen here. Like you get that like big stage when you walk in. Is the Fog similar when you in terms of the feelings?
100%. 100%. It reminds me of a movie. Like you walk in like Hoosiers. It's like it just has a vibe and energy all on its own. And when you walk in, and I remember several years ago, I went there to take one of my sons to camp, and the field house was empty and it was dim. Only a few lights were on. And when you walk in and it's that quiet, and the way it was lit, it was like it took my breath away. I just had to stand there and just like take it all in for a moment. But it's the same field house that it's always been. So it has that history, that energy, that vibe. So you feel it when you walk in there. There's no doubt about it. Even fans who aren't Kansas fans can walk into the Fog and feel that energy. If you love basketball, you can respect the building for sure. So yeah, it has its own personality, 100%.
And the first time you were there and you heard the Rock Chalk chant, like did it, because I mean, one of the places on my bucket list, of course, is the Fog. And I used to be heavier into college basketball when I was in my younger age and into my 20s. But, once you get older, I don't got time to watch all these sports. But I remember the first time I heard the fans do it, rock. Like, it sounded kind of eerie. Like, I'm like, what is a horror movie? Like, what's going on here? Like, what is that sound like when you're into the first time you heard it?
It's so cool. It's just so cool. I don't even know what to say. So cool. I mean, and of course it's way cooler when you're a fan because it's like totally, you're so into it. And a lot of people are like, what the heck is that? Talk to me about that. Like whenever they start to pay attention to Kansas basketball and they're like, what is that thing? They also have a tradition before they play. If you've ever seen them warm up, they have a tradition that they do where they do this little coordinated dance and then they all like jump on the floor on their stomach.
Yep.
Right? So they've been doing that too. So people ask me questions about that. So it's an awesome tradition. If you're a fan, you really feel it and get into it. It's just, the vibe. That's how we roll at Kansas. So yeah, it's awesome. And it gives me chills. Just thinking about it gives me chills. I love it.
I love that though. Do you find that there's any NBA team though that gets that same kind of energy? Like I grew up I went to a D3 school, so that was what I felt like I really missed was the college basketball experience. So like I root for Pitt because that's where my dad went, so that's kind of my alma mater in that sense. But I know college is unparalleled. But do you think that there's any team in the NBA that kind of replicates that feeling, or not really?
Well, I mean, yes and no. So college is such a different feeling, right? Like we're not talking about multi-million-dollar contracts, and yes, of course.
Although we kind of are, but not really.
Oh, right. We're not.
We're not talking about.
But you know what I'm saying. So publicly, we're not really discussing that. And yes, of course, there's plenty of politics and NCAA. We could talk about that, but so it's the love of the game and the vibe is a little bit different, or at least I like to tell that. NBA team and I went to NBA over the last several years. So these fans are diehard though, right? Like, I mean, so of course, big fan.
We got some technical difficulties here. We're on I think Erin went underwater. By the way, this picture of her is fantastic. I'm going to
take a photo of this. All right, Erin, we're going to show you this. You guys, we're at home. We're just going with it. We're still remote. We're trying to be safe.
That's the picture we gotta post in the thumbnail.
That's gonna go on the grid.
That's the thumbnail. Erin, you just froze. I don't know. Like and you're still frozen.
The basketball gods were like, no, don't give up the secrets. Don't tell her. Don't tell them.
She angered the basketball gods at the Fog. That's what happened.
We might have to be right back, guys. What do you think, Trad?
I think so. Guys, we'll be right back. We're back, guys. Listen, sometimes in these times, you got technology issues. I mean, let's be real. Technology issues happen, COVID or not, right? Like, this just happens. Sometimes your shit just don't work. Like,
I mean,
It's what it is.
We're the kicks and shit show. Sometimes we got the shit.
Sometimes,
that's what happens.
Sometimes we got the shit. So we were talking, Erin, about NBA teams that may approximate that feeling that you get with Kansas. Is there any team you think that does that?
Well, I mean, like I said, I'm just starting to kind of pay more attention to it, and Philly fans in general go hard no matter what it is. But I have to say, I'm shockingly surprised at how dedicated and devoted.
The suspense is killing
I know.
me.
Who's
at the perfect time.
I'm like, who? The 76ers? Who?
Gonna say the Knicks?
No.
How devoted the Knicks fans are? Knicks fans are devoted.
I mean, yeah, you guys are devoted, but you're also nuts. Well, but I was actually talking about this today on True Hoop. Shouts to True Hoop. Like, if you're a fan of a team that is poorly run and managed, like, there's nothing you can do. Because you can't get rid of those. Like, it just is what it is. Like, you're stuck. Like, all you can do is pray that, oh God, I hope we strike gold and a free agent comes around the corner but that's probably not happening.
And that's also not the solution, right?
Of course,
so,
it's not.
We played that game in New York.
Right.
I mean, you know me, I'm a devoted, diehard Knicks fan. I could literally wear Knicks clothing probably every single day for almost a month and not repeat an outfit, But I think it's a good point that you make, that it's really tough in that sense, and it's hard being a fan. I mean, I'm a loyal fan. I love my teams, and I'm Knicks or die, and guess we're
you've been dying.
It's true. It's like we've tried to put the Band-Aid on it by adding a superstar, by adding a big-time player.
Right.
And, like I said, we talked about this when we talked about the Marbury documentary. This is not a new issue with the Knicks. Like, we bring in these big players, and for some reason, because of whether it's a miscommunication or in the organization or something isn't vibing in the way that it's supposed to be, you could have all the talent in the world, but if it's not being utilized in the way that you brought it in to be utilized, it almost doesn't matter.
Well, it's actually funny you mentioned that, because Erin and I had a Instagram DM conversation about this. Look, each NBA team, right? All 30 of them, they're mini corporations, right? And take basketball out of the equation, and I'm stealing this from my good friend Henry Abbott. If you're a Wall Street firm and everybody within your company is all backbiting and one person trying to one up the other person and take their job and do whatever, like, that company isn't going to do very well, right? Like, you're just not. Like, that environment and that market will bear itself out and you will be terrible, right? It's just same thing in basketball, right? If your goal is not the ultimate, like, okay, here's our mission and our vision, we're trying to accomplish these things. And even because in basketball, there's only one prize at the end, right? In Wall Street, like, there's multiple prizes, right? Because it's about money. So even if you do all those things in basketball, there's no guarantee you're going to get the ultimate prize, but at least you can compete for it, right? The Knicks aren't even competing for it, right? Like, and that is, and don't worry, folks, Erin will be back in a second.
She's not a Knicks fan, clearly. Just kidding.
But they're not even able to compete, and that's the issue. Because save for the Patrick Ewing years in the mid '90s, when you unfortunately had Michael Jordan in your way to go up against, other than that, this team has been not good. Like, okay, you had Melo, went to the first round of the playoffs. All right. Like, otherwise, it's been bad all around. And so what that tells me is you kind of got lucky in that period, because there's more evidence that suggests we don't know what we're doing. And I just, I talk about this all the time. Like, if you're because looking at the Clippers, right? And they lost a 3-1 lead. If you are an NBA fan, would you rather your team build something where, look, first of all, championships aren't guaranteed, and it doesn't matter what you do, right?
Right.
Well, we're in the game, and every year we win between 48 and 52 games. We're in the playoffs, and we have a chance. Or you want to keep doing this, let me swing for the fences and get this free agent and that free agent. But if I don't, we're going to strike out and suck, and this is what it is. I think you'd rather the former, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, I think it's a process, right? Rebuilding takes time, and it takes a lot of looking in and evaluating things. And I think that's something that we could all benefit from doing. I also find that the league has changed so much, where it's become more focused on the one and done championship. And I mean, that's very true. I'm glad you mentioned the Clippers. To me, I find the Clippers are a perfect example of that. The Raptors still had a really solid team this season, and Kawhi could have stayed there to make a play for another ship, right? But it was like, all right, we did it. Now we're done. Let's scatter. Danny Green went to the Lakers, you know, Kawhi went to the Clippers. It's like everybody kind of went their own separate ways. Like, but why? To me, I don't understand why we're trying to reinvent the wheel every time, you know? And it was really evident that that is not something, and to your point, that a championship is not guaranteed. No matter how much talent is there, things can still fall flat and nothing is guaranteed. But I don't know why we're in this now league where we're focusing on the present only and we're not focusing on the long game anymore, right? And I mean, that's one thing that I do respect about LeBron is that whenever he's gone to a team, and like, you know, I have my opinions about LeBron. I'll leave that there. But you can't say that when he doesn't go to a team, it's not the overall strategy, right? Like the Lakers didn't make the playoffs when he first went there, and they got a really hard time about it. But he's like, just trust the process, you know, to quote the great poet Joel Embiid, trust the process. It's about the long game. And that's one thing I do have a lot of respect for with LeBron is that, like, he sees the big picture. So even if it's not a championship in that moment, it's like, let me see what's going on. Let me figure it out. I mean, look at Kevin Durant. I know you're a big fan of his, and I'm not going to talk smack about him, but he's easy money sniper for a reason. So it's like, let me be a sniper in Golden State. Great, tackled that, now on to the next, instead of someone like a Curry who's like, let me stay, let me be a part of the process and really grow and develop with that dynasty. You know, someone who has the luxury to move and is choosing to stay. To me, I have a different kind of respect for that.
Here's what I will say, and this is sort of one of the things that, like, fans sort of, that's their thing, right? Like, if they grow up rooting for a team, they want their guy to stay, right? And I get it because you feel like you have something invested and like an attachment and a connection. The thing about, because you mentioned Kawhi, look, this is a business, right? Like, Kawhi comes out of college, and again, this is just something when we leave college, you and I, we got to decide. We applied to jobs. We get to pick where we want to go, who we want to work for, and where we want to live and do all that. You leave the college, or you come out of Europe or whatever, you don't get to decide where you go. You get picked by a team. And that's how it goes. And guess what? If you want to live in Milwaukee, too bad. That's who has you, right? And the way the salary structure works, you can only make the most money those first 6, 7, 8 years with that team, right? Because they're the ones draft you, so they have control of your rights. So if you leave and you go somewhere else within that first 6, 7, 8 years, you're going to get less money. Now all the fans out there, but Gerard, they make millions of dollars. I'm like, that is not the way you look at this, because you don't say that about CEOs or whoever who hop from company to company. Again, they choose to do what they want to do. Kawhi gets drafted by San Antonio. We don't know if he wanted to live in Texas. Doesn't matter. That's who had him. Then San Antonio traded him to Toronto. We don't know that he wanted to go live in Canada. Doesn't matter. That's where you have to go. So now that when he was a free agent, oh, you know what? Free agent, my contractual obligations are done. I get to choose where I go now. I want to live in California. Okay, I'm not stopping you. Same thing with Durant, right? Done with OKC, contract was up. I get to pick where I go now. Finish his contract in Golden State. Okay, I'm done here. I want to live in New York now. So to me, I never come at players for choosing where they want to go, because that is a luxury and a choice that we are afforded in our lives that they don't have. They get moved on a whim. Hey, pack your bags, buddy. You're going to Cleveland. Funny story. And this is a role player, but it was interesting. It was a Cleveland Cavaliers. No. Oh, God. Was it Denver? Or was it Utah? Utah Jazz were playing the Brooklyn Nets. And a player was on the court warming up. There was a lot of a lot of guys in suits talking, like murmuring, and we're like, what's going on? All of a sudden, someone came over to him and whispered. He put the basketball down, went back in the locker room. So we're all immediate. We're like, So we follow back. What's happening back here? Turns out he was traded, had to hop on a flight that night to go to his new destination in Cleveland. Oh, we're all like, yo, this business is cold, man. Imagine, you're getting ready to suit up and play a game. Hey, man, pack your bags. You're going to Cleveland. So again, and I know fans don't want to hear that, and my fandom is very different. I don't root for a team. I cover the league, and, I love the game of basketball. But when these guys get to decide where they want to go and put their own destiny in their hands, I'm never mad at that, because they're not often afforded the opportunity to choose where they want to go and where they want to play.
No, I get that. And I think that's why a lot of people follow players more than they do teams in some aspect these days. And, for me, it's the nostalgia, right?
Yes.
Like, I love the days of old when it used to be like the Yankees-Red Sox rivalry. And you knew that, like, Nomar is going to be playing on the Red Sox forever. And then one day he wasn't. And to me, it was like, especially as a kid, you have that connection to these players. I mean, I think it's a sign of our overall generation. It's like we get to choose what we do, and normally we used to stay at that company for 40 years. Now it's like, oh, well, I can get a better deal, or I can get a promotion, or for them, I can make a play for a ring. It's not always about the money. It's like sometimes these players actually take salary cuts to do that. It's a lot more choice, and I think it's just interesting seeing how the league has transformed, how fandom has transformed in that sense around that. And I'm not knocking these players. Like, if I were in their shoes, and I think LeBron had a great quote actually at the finals, he's like, you guys can like talk all the smack that you want, but until you're on the court in that moment, you cannot say what it's like to be in my shoes and deliver consistently. And I think we as media and fans give these players a lot of slack and give them a really hard time about making those decisions. But let's be honest, in the moment, we would probably do the same thing.
Oh,
it's going to be a
1,000%.
better quality of life. I mean, if you want to send me anywhere tomorrow, I'll go.
well, not anywhere.
I'm not the majority. I mean, yeah, you want to send me to Cleveland tomorrow? I'll go.
You sure?
I've never been, yeah. It's beautiful this time of year. I'll fit in really well with my pumpkin spice hoodie,
But you tapped into something there, though, when you said about Yankees, Red Sox, and when you were a kid. That's the thing. Because sports, for whatever reason, for fans, it's this nod and this feeling that you're trying to recapture from when you were young, right? And your favorite player was on your team for a long time, and that's what you're trying to recapture now as an adult. Even though, as an adult, you would never make those same decisions, right? You'd be like, hell no. If, let's say you worked at, I don't know, Fox Sports, and ESPN offered you 3 times your salary, but you got to move across the country. You ain't thinking twice. Pack my bags, right? You're out.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So it's the thing, it's the level and the standards we hold these players to that we would never do in our own lives. And that's where I'm always like, all right, fans, let's calm down, because your issue is you're mad your team's gonna suck now. And I get it. Listen, that's why.
Welcome to my world, baby. Welcome to my world.
But that's why hope, the thing about it is, when you're an adult, you can choose to give up that fandom, right? I know it's like sounds sacrilegious, but guess what? If it gives you that much anguish and pain, then stop doing it. Like, pick something else.
I'm a loyal bitch. Fantasy, ride or die. Usually I'm dead. It's fine.
Usually
I'm
dead.
used to it. I'm a New York sports fan. Like, I grew up in Jersey. When the Nets jumped ship and went to Brooklyn and left Jersey, I felt like it was like a real breakup. The struggle was real. Like, that's what I grew up going to games as a kid. Like, we didn't get to go into the city to go to the Garden. I mean, I went sometimes with my dad, but like, Jersey was, Brendan Byrne Arena was in our backyard. It was
Shouts to
dope.
Brendan Byrne.
We had great seats. I got a high five from Hakeem Olajuwon when I was a little kid. Like, I'll never forget that moment.
No doubt.
Still don't wash my hand, minus COVID. Right?
And again, it's about that feeling when you were a kid.
Exactly.
Yes.
And
yes.
For me, whatever dark cloud is over New York sports, I hope it's lifted, but you know what? I wouldn't have it any other way, because that's how I am. I'm a loyal fan, and it's a hard life. Like, I watched the Giants play this week.
Jesus Christ.
I'm on the roller coaster, right? You know what I mean? And I'm getting ready to ride the ride, and then with less than 2 minutes left,
Bottom drops out.
The ride is broken down. Everybody off the train. Thank you for coming. We're closed for the day.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm used to. I mean, that's why I like things like fantasy football, because I get to cheer for players and I get a little bit of both. So for me, that's my escape instead of jumping ship from my team.
Well, so
I look at it from a different lens of education.
Here's something to think about. Since you grew up a New Jersey Nets fan, why don't you start watching more Brooklyn Nets games? They have some better players now.
Nope. That's like you broke up with somebody and then they dyed their hair blonde. Like, I don't think so. I don't get back with my exes. I don't follow teams that Nah. I move forward. I've been a loyal Knicks fan since I was a kid. My dad was a Knicks fan. I cried when I found out that my parents got rid of season tickets to the Knicks to go to Europe every year. Yeah, that was the life that I lived. Really, really tough.
Real tough.
First world problems. First, we're all problems, but that's how much of a fan I've always been. And like for me, I love my Knicks through and through. I would love to see a championship in a lifetime, in my lifetime, in any lifetime, in anyone's lifetime, lifetime.
Well, I'll
someday it'll happen, but I don't know what it is for Brooklyn for me. Like I think it's a marketing dream,
Yeah.
and I think the Brooklyn Nets have done some great moves with their players. I have some friends on Team Hype. They are talented, amazing, beautiful, wonderful, smart, amazing
you're rocking
people.
with the
Did I
Knicks.
say amazing?
Yes, but you're rocking with the Knicks.
I'm a loyal G, and I'm rocking with my Knicks. Like I don't care if you're my favorite person.
Well,
see you at the Garden.
Well, Gabby, listen, that's all well and good. I applaud and appreciate your loyalty. You're going to have a lot of seasons finishing out of the playoff mix and going home early in March. But, hey, is what it is. But, folks,
loyalty.
We will be back with Erin Schiffman for America's favorite segment, Shoe and Tell. Don't go away.
So what I was saying is, Philly fans are diehard regardless of the sport, right? Like they go hard and they don't hold back. But I will say I am crazy impressed with the Knicks fan base. They are diehard, ride or die, and they got nothing to cheer about.
Literally nothing.
I mean, I don't want to say nothing. Nothing is kind of an overstatement.
No.
We have the world's most famous arena.
Yeah, that's it. A building. You got a building. Yes.
I'll take it. It's a landmark.
Yeah.
You don't disrespect us like that. It's a landmark. Should be a landmark.
Gabby, that roster is trash. Absolute trash. Like trash.
Just let me live my best pumpkin spice restaurant, okay? Let me live in fantasy land.
I have to say, if you're talking about fan base and you're talking about fans that just won't quit, I mean, you got to give it to the Knicks. I mean, how can you not give it to the Knicks? Although that's not the same as a college fan base, and it is very different, the types of games and whatever. But I feel like Knicks fans, I gotta give you respect, because I don't understand how you continue to show up and be so believe so much in a team that just never produces for you. It's crazy. But listen, I respect that, because I'm Kansas ride or die. It doesn't matter. They can lose every game. I don't care.
and you know what?
I was going to say, we appreciate you. And Gerard and I were talking about this a little bit before. We're not jumping over to ship to Brooklyn either. I think the Brooklyn fan base is very different. You don't see Knicks fans that are like, we out. Doesn't happen.
Gabby, I will say this. You and your fellow Knicks fans deserve better than you've gotten. Right?
I think we're saying a medal or a trophy, but yes, also that. Okay.
I mean, for the loyalists and diehards who have been there for the last 20 plus years, living with that abject disaster, you guys deserve better. But, will you get it? I don't know. Time will tell.
I mean, there's some changing of the guards, though. So I, as a true Knicks fan, will say I am hopeful.
Gotta love your.
Heard that. I've heard that a lot.
Mm-hmm. Gotta love their optimism. Gotta love their optimism.
Yes, that's all I
got. So, Erin, we talked about in your intro that you are a creative. You went to FIT here in the city. So, you have a good eye, as they say, in that world.
In the streets?
In these streets. Let's talk about your burgeoning photography career. You did some fun stuff with the Kicks and Shit crew this week over at Brooklyn Bridge Park. So where did your love of pictures and photography come from?
That's a great question. I think it was just something I've always kind of been around growing up, and it was just a passion of mine that I really enjoyed. And it kind of fell into the whole creative space. I was just always very creative and the things that I was pursuing. So it kind of went hand in hand. And I became really into fashion and really wanted to come to New York City to go to FIT. And everything we did always involved the camera one way or another. So it just kind of was natural. And then as I decided to start, the creative business, it was something that I would do for my clients. Just when we would design packaging and we would need product photos or whatever, I would just take them. And so it's just something I've just been doing. And I always love taking pictures of my friends and things like that. So when we started the Ballers Journal,
we wanted to obviously have some photos, and it's not like we're running on a huge budget or anything. So I was like, hey, I have a camera. I love to take photos. I'm going to hop in on this and see what happens. So it's just one of those things I really love, and I enjoy people and connecting with people. So that's why it was so much fun to spend the afternoon with you guys too, because we get to chat and laugh and have fun and joke around and take photos and outfit changes and hair changes and all that
mock
good stuff.
proposals.
Lord.
Mock proposals and lots of trash talking, and it's great. So that's what life's all about. It's about connecting and creating. And so that's one great thing to be able to do throughout this whole coronavirus nonsense is, be able to still get outside and connect with some people and create. And that keeps me going, really.
And let me tell you, you have a wonderful eye, and folks, get ready. There'll be some dope KNS content coming out, courtesy of Erin Schiffman. Listen,
thank you so much.
You guys all know the stories about when Gabby yells at me for taking poor photos and bad art direction. So imagine two women yelling at you all day about your photos. No, stand here, do this. I'm kidding. I'm teasing.
Let's set the record straight.
I'm teasing.
I mean, I'll release the unseen footage. I will play that card. But no, I mean, I think it's a lot of fun. And that's actually how I was connected to Erin, to you, before even meeting you, was through your photos. Gerard was like, I think you need to meet this girl. And I was like, yep, absolutely. I was like, sneakers, photography, basketball. I was like, we're going to get along great. And
totally.
And definitely give her a follow, guys. Her stuff is amazing.
It is, in fact, amazing.
So
we are happy to have you. And now, folks, America's favorite segment, America's favorite and number one segment. It's both.
Oh.
Shoe and tell. And as always, what? Yes. What do you?
I feel like, though, I mean, as much as I'm enjoying Pumpkin Spice Land, I feel like I need to be transported back down to reality. So we're going to remix this real quick. I need to get in the mood.
Okay, now you're ready. Okay, now you're ready.
That's transporting around.
So, as always, with our guest, Shoe and Tell, the floor is yours, Erin. Pick out a shoe or two and tell us why you love them and why they're so special to you.
This is so hard. It's like picking a favorite child. How do you do that?
Well, wait. I mean, I don't want you to incriminate yourself on camera, but parents always say that, but they always have a favorite child. Like, they just do. Like, I mean, I know I'm the favorite, but that's just
was me, obviously.
Erin's like, no, I got nothing. Nope.
I'm not even
leaving that alone. Nope.
Switzerland.
Yeah, exactly. So it's really hard for me. I pulled a couple, but it's really hard for me to pick a favorite. One, I have a hard time picking favorites. When you ask me even about picking my favorite KU players, I'm like, no, they're all my favorite. I love you all. So that's really difficult. But I figured, since I'm doing like a shout out to FIT and where this all started, one of my favorites is my Jordan 3 Anna Wintour. I really love it. It's like the classic tweed, and she has her signature on the back, and it's, of course, Jordan. So Anna was huge for me growing up, sitting in my bedroom in Kansas, paging through Vogue and dreaming of being in the big city at FIT. So this is definitely a special shoe to me, although it may not be like the most famous, like crazy sought after shoe. It has meaning. So that is definitely one of that I wanted to share with you guys, because it, kind of ties into the whole story.
Well, that's a win, because it's a Jordan 3, which is a favorite silhouette of this show. And I think Gabby knows this. I mean,
I know where you're going with this already.
Well, no, it's not even the movie. No, but Anna, but it's not. It's not. Anna Wintour, just from like what she's done, is one of like my favorite people in terms of like her influence on an industry, right? Like, former editor in chief of Vogue, now like head of whatever she is at Condé. Like, I mean, she dictated like taste and so much, and introduced me to people who I follow now, like Andre Leon Talley and like all these like various like important influential people in, wearable art, which is what fashion is.
Yeah, she's
Devil Wears Prada, though, Gerard.
Oh, well,
I was waiting for it.
Well, because
Florals for spring, groundbreaking.
And of course there's Devil Wears Prada, which, Meryl Streep, played a version of Anna Wintour.
It's a great movie. It is a great movie. But no, sure, her presence too is just so. I remember going to a show at Fashion Week working as an intern at FIT, and I was standing outside and her car pulled up, and it's like literally like the energy shifts and like it's like the river parts, and like she comes walking through and like the whole place just bows down. Like it is like an experience just to be even near her presence. Like she changed the entire industry. She's a legend. She's iconic. I mean, it's especially if you're into fashion, you're into Anna, like those shoes were like that meant something to me because I really idolized her a lot, and you know, the impact that she's had on like you said, wearable art.
I have a question.
Yes.
Do you wear those shoes, or do you keep them as wearable art?
I actually do wear them. I don't wear them often, but I do wear them. I am, you know, it's so funny. I got a DM the other day from someone asking me, I'm having a debate with someone. I want to know, do you wear your shoes? Like, do you wear all of your shoes? And I have to say, for the most, I do. There may be some that I don't wear often, or I've only worn a couple times, but I really believe in, I understand the whole collecting thing, and I understand keeping them pristine and in the box and all of that. I get it. I respect it. But I also think life is really short. And when I have something that I love and I'm like, these are dope, like they're not sitting in the box. We are going out with these. And, you know, and people on the street they're like, oh my God, they'll stop you. You saw yesterday, you do it the same too. To people, you're like, oh, I love your kicks, nice kicks, whatever. So that's like that little nod, you know, that little respect. So I really enjoy wearing the shoes. I think they're a conversation starter. They're art to me. So that's important to me. So yeah. I wear them.
Love it. Dead stock or livestock. We're here for it, folks.
Totally. More? Or no?
More. Yeah, more.
Yeah,
Keep them coming.
Okay. So, again, nothing super crazy, but for some reason, these are the winter series, and I get stopped on the street. I can't even tell you how often about these shoes. And they are lined, like the fleece lining, so they're warm for the winter. So I live in these in the winter, and I absolutely love them. And I get stopped all the time about these. So
they look like customs. That's
these
why.
are another. Yeah, they do. A lot of people have asked me that. They do kind of look like customs, and I guess they were just like a limited release. I don't know, but I've kept them in really, as much as I wear them, I've kept them in pretty good condition. So these are definitely one of the other favorites. And then I'll show one more that I also always get stopped about.
Yeah.
So first, I have ones are like
that's your jam.
That's my thing. I love the threes, but like I'm a classic girl, but these I get requests for all time. People always ask me about these. So, you know, and black and white is also a big thing of mine. So those are kind of three of the shoes that I have around. And I had these on yesterday, but I have to shout out KD. Got to shout out KD because I am a 60s, 70s flower child. Like I am all about the hippie vibes and the flowers and the peace sign and everything I can. And these are crazy comfortable.
The most comfortable sneakers I think that are out there, honestly. Because I have the 13 Hypes. We were talking about this yesterday. I think they are the most comfortable sneakers ever. Like you're walking on sunshine with those kids.
Yeah.
All the puns over here.
Walking on sunshine. Yes. I loved it. But I can't believe, like, I wore them all day yesterday for that shoot with you guys. And they were crazy comfortable and flexible. So and we also talked about creasing our shoes. So I did not have ones on yesterday because I have gotten like called out at games when I'm like bent down, squatted down to take photos. And they're like, your shoes. And I'm like, listen, I got a photo to take. Like, so, you know, so I was cautious of that yesterday. So I had the KDs and I love how comfortable they are.
Yeah. The KDs, in terms of Nike technology, right? They sort of like expand on the zoom, right? On the air zoom and really work on that cushioning. And that's what you need, right? And we talk about this when we do some of our unboxing and different things for basketball players. It's all about the stability of the shoe because of the movements they're making, right? The quick cuts, the lateral movement, but also the ability to take the absorption and the cushioning when they land, right? And be soft enough that they're not like, you know, smacking their heels and their bodies into tough material. So it's Nike from a technology standpoint and a construction, the work that goes into creating this stuff for their players is really, really something special.
Agreed.
Yeah, unless you're Zion Williamson.
I
Well,
don't think he was in the wrong shoe, though. I mean, he's a big dude, to say it's the
Yeah.
least, and the
the
PGs are just
PGs,
such
yeah,
a light
they're light. It's a light shoe, yeah.
I think that was just like the wrong fit for him. You know, I mean, a LeBron is a little bit bulkier.
Which is actually interesting. I'm
good
surprised that I mean, look, it's about the whatever the platform that, I mean, we love Jordan Brand, but I was actually surprised that he went Jordan Brand instead of like maybe going a traditional Nike and going into one of the LeBron or the bulkier shoes. But maybe what they're going to do is eventually give him a line under Jordan Brand and work with him specifically. Because obviously his particular pair, his PE, gets made a little bit different for him just because he's a large human who, by the way, from a P3 standpoint, just like P3 is this science and technology company, and they measure like athletes, and like Zion's pressure at which he pushes down on the floor is something, it's larger than any human being that's ever existed. Like, and it like dents the earth. And I'm not kidding. Like, it's like, And so whenever if they do create a shoe for him, it's going to have so many specific things, because this is a very huge human doing like things that most people no human should be able to do. Certainly not a human his size. Right. So yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah. I think that's probably their plan.
I would think so. Yeah. I mean, and there's got to be other players out there like that, but I feel like he's like watching a football player playing basketball sometimes because of his stature.
Yeah. Huge.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do with that, but I'm sure that is in the works, no doubt. I mean, no doubt. And he'll be very profitable.
Well, folks, thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Kicks and Shit Show. As always, you know where to find us: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud, YouTube, at Kicks and Shit Show on literally every social media platform: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We're at TikTok. We're everywhere, man. And Erin, where can the people find you?
So my personal IG is Erin Schiffman _NYC, and you can follow along at the Ballers Journal. It's the_Ballers_Journal, or even beyond _the _journal, which is also the podcast that is a spinoff of the Ballers Journal. So yeah, so on IG, look us up.
Erin, thank you so much. And
thank
folks, we will see you guys next week. Peace.
Thanks, guys.